Thank you for taking the time to watch this instructional video on how to install the Supersprings, the self-adjusting suspension stabilizer.
G'day, I'm here today to talk to you about the new Supersprings and how we're going to fit these to the new Ford Ranger. First thing you're going to need is a trolley jack, some good quality jack stands, and also some chocks to put under the front wheels. We'll get those done now, and then we'll get this wheel off and show you how it all works. So our first step here is to measure from the bottom of the rim to the bottom of the wheel arch. So in this case, we're at 815 millimeters. We've now put 450 kilos in the back, and I'm just going to go and do that measurement now, again with a standard suspension, and then we're going to go through the process of fitting the Supersprings. So we started up here at 815 millimeters, and we're now down to 765. So that's a 50 millimeter decrease by adding 450 kilos to the back of the vehicle. So let's go through the process now of adding the Supersprings, and we'll show you the difference. In some instances, the bump stop sits above the leaf spring on the vehicle. Now, if that bump stop is domed or pointy, we need to cut that off to give it a flat surface area for the Superspring to sit on. So you can see here I've marked this one out. We need to cut that down about 10 millimeters. We can either use a Stanley knife or a hacksaw and simply cut that section off, which will give us the flat surface area for the Superspring to sit on. Now we can position the Superspring on top of the trimmed bump stop, and we need to align that equally between the pickup points at the front and the rear of the vehicle. So now we need to get a G-clamp onto this so we can pull it down, and then we can position the shackle pin and bush. Now it's advisable to hold the G-clamp and the Superspring together at the top, and then simply wind the G-clamp down, and you'll see here that the Superspring is starting to close down over the top of the original leaf spring suspension. So now that we've pulled the Superspring down, you can see here that the shackle is hanging either side, and that's nice and loose, and that's the way you want it to be. Don't tighten this top bolt. You need to be able to keep the shackle to be able to move backwards and forwards. So now we simply position the shackle bush and we put the pin through and simply tighten it up in location. Remember to tighten the bottom pin firmly, but leave the top pin loose to enable this shackle to move slightly over the spring. And then we release this end. Now we move to the rear of the vehicle, and it's the same process. Position the G-clamp on top of the Superspring, and then simply wind the bottom to pull the Superspring down over the leaf spring. Just a tip, make sure you keep the sides of the shackle separated so that they go over the leaf spring smoothly. Position the shackle pin and bush, repeat the process and tighten this one up. Again, remember not to tighten the top of the shackle. That needs to be loose to have a bit of play. Now you'll see on the shackle, there's actually two mounting points. There's a lower point and an upper point. Always mount it in the lower point first, because you can always increase it to the higher point for greater stability if the need requires. Included in the kit is the bump stop. Now, once we've got the front and the rear shackles tight on the Superspring, you can then position this bump stop, which has got an adhesive on the back. That then replaces the original bump stop on the vehicle. So that just simply gets located directly above the other bump stop so that it's still in line with the correct chassis location. Now, as you saw before, when we put the weight in the back, the vehicle sagged quite a bit. Now we've fitted the Supersprings, let's see what that ride height is now sitting at with the weight in the back. So once again, from the bottom of the rim to the bottom of the wheel arch, and we're sitting at 820 millimeters.
Now without the Superspring, the ride height with 450 kilos in the back was 50 mil lower than the standard setting. So the addition of the Superspring ensures that the vehicle's ride height under load remains closer to the original setting, is going to be much more stable under load, under steering and in braking, and will generally stop that wallowing feeling down the road when you've got a load in the back of the vehicle. Thanks for watching and safe driving.